Welcome to the SWBL podcast presented by 1356 Public House. And today we are joined by Evan Quo, the ace of the SWBL Athletics. He is stepping in for Captain Alex Heck for this captain interview. So getting some new faces. And this is Evan's first time on the podcast. He's not a rookie to podcasts or any of that, but first time on the SWBL podcast. Evan, how you doing, buddy? I'm excited to have you here.
Yeah, Brian, thanks for having me. Appreciate the opportunity. Captain is a pretty big term, so I am definitely just a fill-in for this year. I don't know if I drew the short stick or what have you. Maybe some laziness on Steve Hayes' part, but yeah, happy to be here. Happy to be a part of my third season with the SWBL and Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah. Well, just a little background. You didn't draw a short stick. Actually, Alex suggested you.
Oh
When I
wow.
had reached out to, start scheduling this stuff, he goes, "Hey, I want to have somebody else do it and I want Evan to do it." So I think he's like, "I think he'd be great. So you need to reach out to him." And I was like, "Perfect. I love that." So,
Yeah, I appreciate that, Alex. If you're listening out there, thanks for the opportunity. I'm
y-
excited.
yeah. Well, as usual, guys, we're gonna, get into the roster, the division, the schedule, all the things you expect to hear out of these interviews. And so, with that, let's jump into just kind of recapping season 21. Not not the way you guys probably wanted it to go. You finished 2-8. Just what do you remember about last year? Bright spots or certain moments, like just yeah, what kind of comes to mind when you think about last season?
Yeah, I think the A's motto, from what I know, right? I'm a latecomer, was shock the world, or it has been.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, when you go to our logo and you click on our name, I don't think we've done a lot of shocking since 2016. It's been a lot of bottom of the barrel, if you will, and I'm being hard on the team, even though I wasn't a part of a couple of those years. But recently, as of last year, it was a lot of close games in 23, unfortunately, and a lot of those games did not go our way. It did not help. We got started with the preseason kind of tournament game that did count. We got smoked by the Rockies, and unfortunately, that kind of set the tone, if you will, for the year.
Hmm.
But overall, I mean, we beat the Expos. We had a great win against the Twins late on Sunday. And then we had some late inning losses, kind of like the year before. Had a bottom of, I believe, the sixth loss against the Marlins. Had some other really close games where we were tied with the Orioles late. Astros jumped us late in the game in the fifth and sixth inning. All really good teams. Not that we're looking to win those games, but we were definitely closer than I think our record showed. I say that in a little bit of jest because, as we all know, and well, I'm starting to learn wiffle ball is this league is unlike anything else I've played in. It really doesn't matter any of your background. There's some really talented players there. Luckily, there's a miles per hour limit, or I think we'd be in a lot more hurt just based on our roster and figuring that out. But I think it's the year that could have a couple of things go our way, just like in 22, where I think we had 4 wins that year. Just a couple of bad big innings against us really cost us some wins late, probably two, three, maybe even a fourth win, where hopefully we can flip that script. So 23, definitely kind of looking back. Excited for this year, especially since there's going to be four of us kind of rolling through, which I know we'll touch on that. Didn't mean to give that away, but yeah, overall, I think a good year for some of us newcomers. I hit for the first time. So Brian, as you know, it's not easy. I think I had maybe one at bat. I don't think I had any at bats the year before. We had a newcomer in Keaton who was fantastic, and we're looking to kind of parlay that into a good 24.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you had some bright spots too. Yeah, Keaton, coming over from the Astros, had a great year. Kind of also, you kind of found a number two behind yourself pitcher. He ate
Or
up a lot of
one. He could
innings.
be one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he could be a number one. He never got a full chance on the Astros to pitch a whole lot. Really was, a hitter for that team. But he came in, he ate up a lot of innings, and what that did too was it allowed Paul to stay in right field or in left field, and he ended up being the Platinum Hands winner, and so another bright spot for the team there. And yeah, and you're right. I mean, close games. it's a funny ball, as Chris Metter likes to say. It can bounce one way or the other, and sometimes you just try to limit those opportunities is all you can do, and hope they bounce your way. But this league, we talk about it all the time, it is getting more and more competitive. And so even though you have a 2-8 record, like you said, a couple changes here or there, you hold off a team from coming back here or there, you might be looking at a 500 record or something like that, and you're right in the thick of that playoff hunt, at the end of the weekend. So definitely some things to build upon as you go into season 22. But now you kind of have a bit of a change this year with your roster. So you kind of alluded to it. You've got four guys. So just go ahead and tell the fans what you're kind of alluding to there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So our roster this year, we're rolling with four guys the entire weekend with maybe a guest appearance. I think Paul may be joining us in the first game, but our four through Memorial Day weekend for it's season 22, right? Did I get that
Yep.
right?
Yep. You're
Yeah.
right.
Season 22, it's going to be we're going to have a returner, Chris Vorbeck, which we're super excited. Great bat,
Mm-hmm.
power bat, right, from the left-hand side. He told me he's ready to DH and hit some power bombs, which we're excited for. So Chris Vorbeck, Keaton Adams is returning, which is great. Great utility guy. He's going to pitch a ton. He's going to hit, and he might end up playing the field, especially as you said with the missing piece in Paul to make sure that we bring in guys. And then Steve Hayes is going to be returning again. So Steve, once again, just solid as they come. He's been very consistent as he's played. He's good in the field. He's definitely going to be a guy that we're going to need to show up this year. And then myself. So I'm the fourth guy on the team. We're going to run with us four, and then maybe we'll have Paul for that opening weekend to get us going. But that's the roster this year. Not a lot of additions except for Vorback coming back and
Mm-hmm.
joining us.
Yeah. Yeah. So touching on a couple of the guys that are technically on the roster but will be missing this year. Alex, the captain, and Paul, like you mentioned, he may show up for the early season game that you have scheduled, but both of their wives are expecting a child, so they're going to be missed. Hopefully, maybe depending on the way things go, maybe they can make an appearance and say
Yeah.
hi, even if it's not during one of your games. But we're gonna miss them, seeing them there this year. They're always, I mean, Paul's been in the league for so long, and Alex has been the glue of the A's forever. So it's
Yeah.
definitely going to be missing something not having them there. And then Mike Carl, also on the roster, but also missing his second consecutive year this year. So yeah, down to four. So I guess with that being said, what with those guys missing, with Paul being gone and Alex and just rolling with those four, like how I mean, it doesn't leave you a lot of room for error, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
what are the guys feeling about that? About, hey, strap your bootstraps on. It's just us, or what's the kind of vibe from the locker room?
Yeah, it's a great question. And now that I think about it, I'm like, four, that's one hammy or one knee or an ankle away from being in a little bit of hot water. So hopefully we stay injury free. But I think the big thing, what I'm excited for, and I think the team is based on some chatter, is the consistency. We're going to have the opportunities to get at bats. We're going to have the opportunities to get on the mound and play in the field. And we're all going to have to kind of pull the rope together. There's not going to be a lot of room for error with us four. We're all going to have to be pretty much on it. Our bad games like we had last year, we're going to have to minimize. It's going to be us four as a nucleus that's going to have to come together and make things work. Especially as you said, I mean, there's a lot of history. Once again, it took me 20 years to get in the league, but I know some of the guys we're missing, like Alex and Paul and Carl, they've been in the league for decade plus, especially with one that's basically started the A's and has been the go-to guy in Alex. And obviously, we wish them well, having
Hmm.
a birth on 5/31. Both of them are expecting, so congratulations to them. Hopefully that goes great. I know they're excited to add to their growing families. But for us four there, we're going to try to hold it down. the shock the world, I keep bringing that up because that's kind of what we need to do this year. I mean, you look at what we've done, it has not been great, right?
Hmm.
There's cobwebs in our playoff appearances, no championships. Just getting into the playoffs would be, I think, a huge bump to team morale and getting us headed in the right direction. So we're going to try to build on what we did last year. Quite frankly, I was pumped to hit. I was a PO in college and varsity baseball, which means nothing, right? Playing college baseball, playing high school ball, whatever it is, whatever sport it might be, um, it doesn't carry over, right? The hand-eye coordination is there, and all the guys in the league have a background in some sort of competitive sports. A lot of guys in baseball, but they've also been playing wiffle ball, whether it's in side leagues or other leagues. And the four of us, we don't do a lot of that. We're gonna try to show up and bang the wiffle ball around and see if we can't slug our way into some wins, and see what we can do. So as far as the lineup, I think it's great from a consistency standpoint. I think a lot of people in this league will agree it's great to just get continuous at bats, and there's going to be
Hmm.
bad games and things like that. But just seeing pitches, and there's a lot of great pitchers in this league, but just trying to get runs. And I think last year we tried to play spoiler, but this year we're going to have to the band of brothers, right? The four of us, we're going to have to get in there and we're going to have to get after it. And I think Steve and is going to put as many great lineups as he can. There's not a lot of mystery based on us four. We're the ones that are going to be showing up playing, and we're definitely excited for that. We're missing, a platinum hands guy out there, so there's going to be some things in the field that we're going to have to mess around with. Myself, I might even have to get out there and play some field. Hopefully, I can hide and we can have Keaton's out there throwing a gem or whoever might be
Hmm.
pitching. We might have to have Vorbeck out there throwing 22-mile-per-hour ephus pitches over the plate to try to get us some outs. But it's going to be a challenge for this year. But I think we're ready. I think we need to come together as a squad and see if we can't just eke out some wins that we've let previously go over the last couple of years. And yeah, we'll see what happens. We're
Yeah.
excited.
Good. Yeah, I mean, you came in like you said 3 years ago. But you know, if you had seen the league before that, I mean, it was more common to have just four guys. That was pretty much what everything was. And then rosters started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's less common now. I mean, really you and the Yankees are going to be the only teams with four players on
Gotcha.
their roster there. So like I said, it used to be the common thing, and there's a lot of benefit to letting your guys play through even slumps, right? Getting more bats. I mean, it can go both ways. They can continue to slump and get in their head even more and more, and just gets worse and worse. And you don't have that kind of fail safe. But at the same time, some guys, they need that. They need a couple more at bats, and they get, if they get one hit, and that can just be the spark that they need again. So, yeah, a lot of risk, but a lot of reward possibly too. So, I did want to mention while we're still on the roster thing, um, you guys, we did the top 22 players, and you guys were the only team to not have a member in the top 22, which kind of blew my
I
mind,
saw that.
especially when you consider the fact that you had a platinum hands winner on the team and he didn't even make the top 22. But this is the second year in a row that the A's have not had a player in the top, it was 21 last year, but 22 this year in the top players ranking. And it just, is that some bulletin board material for you guys? Like how does the team feel about that? Do they care?
That's a good point. I'm glad you brought up the four players with the Yankees because I think what you're trying to say is the A's and the Yankees are very similar. So that's a good point to hang my hat on for now. Top 22. It sounds like we got to get to like year or season 30, 40 so we can get some guys on there. Uh, but for now, not having a guy in the top 21 than top 22, I think it is some bulletin board material. I still feel a little cheated, quite honestly, not in the top 22, but my rookie of the year bid a couple of years
Hmm.
ago. I think there's some other guys on the team that I think, Keaton probably deserved a look in the top 22 just based on his season last year, just
Yeah.
getting on the mound out of nowhere. And then he's ripping the ball, getting on base a ton, on base over 500. And I know, averages need to be upper fours, low fives based on what I've been told to be a serious contender or even hitting 600, right? But we're not talking that with the A's right now. So yeah, it's a little sad. It's not surprising that we don't have guys in the top 22 based on we're pretty much in the bottom three in team stats in just about
Mm-hmm.
every category. I was Skibby or whoever updates the Skibbies, whoever updates that, it's great to look at. It sucks when it's the A's and you see yourself at the bottom. So it's not really a surprise, but is that an aim point for us to play spoiler? I mean, that's got to be us. And I think we've got the personnel this year to where, accolades are accolades. And I think everyone understands that. It'd be great to have a guy in the top 23 for next year if we do really, if someone just goes off this year. And I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a good opportunity for that. Um, but we'll see what happens. We'll put that up on the A's text messages. It's already been talked about. Steve and I were at the Cotton Bowl for Mizzou, Ohio State, and we are talking a little wiffle ball. Right, we had a huge game for the
Mm-hmm.
Tigers, but we were there like, hey, what are we doing? Who do we got? What do we need to do this year that's different than last year? And hopefully Keaton's a big part of that. Vorbeck coming back, who's going to hit the ball or hit the wiffle as hard as he can. Is try to get that over that right field fence. There's some trees that have been removed. Once again, I don't have a long history in this league, but from what I've heard, lefty hitters love out there that right porch as well as center field, getting it in those pine trees and those other trees. So we'll see. Hopefully, we can sneak a couple guys in that or a guy. Right. Let's start with one. Let's get one guy in that top 23 next year, and let's use that a little bit of fuel for fire. That people kind of look at us like, that was the team that was maybe competitive in 2016, 17, 15, whatever that might be, and let's make some noise this year.
Yeah, I love that attitude. Well, yeah, let's talk about season 22 and specifically the division, right? You guys have had the same division for the last 2 years, and then coming into this year, you still have the Orioles in the same division. So this will be the
Yeah.
third year with them in the division. But then you add the Rockies, who 2 years ago had a really rough season. Then last year they come back to make the playoffs. They win a game in the playoffs in the wild card, and really showed a lot of that they still uh, deserve respect to be considered in that top echelons of those teams. So just I guess your thoughts on the division, the way that kind of fell out, like you happy with it? You unhappy with it? What are you thinking?
Yeah. So we're in the Cardinal Blinds division. Is that right?
Yeah, Cardinal blinds with
Yeah.
the Orioles and the Rockies.
Yeah. So I was taking a look at that and just looking at what we did against them last year, right? Because that's probably the most or the best information we have. It's tough when you're in the Orioles division. We played them great in one game, lost late. I think we tied them up in the bottom of the fifth, and then they went ahead in the sixth, or it was right there. And then, unfortunately, the game against the Rockies, we got throttled. It was never a game. Um, but with that being said, we get 2 games against each, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Uh, I think it's a difficult division, but when we're looking at it, we just need to play better against those teams. They're two playoff teams from last year. We all know the pedigree from the Orioles, and the Rockies getting into the playoffs was huge for them. Um, for us, we have to focus on the division, get some wins, and then try to, against the other two divisions, see what we can do. So we're looking at it right in the face, staring it in the face, and we know what we got to do. We got to go out there and get wins in the division and pile up as many early as possible. We can't have the early blunders. We can't start slow because if we started slow last year with some early losses that just kind of not demoralized us, but just put us on the back foot early. And we were looking uphill from the beginning. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if we started 0-2 or 0-3. And then I think we ended up, 2 wins, I think last year, three
Yep.
wins, two, I think
Yep.
it was two. That can't happen again. And I think every team thinks that you gotta compile some early wins, especially with that preseason game so early. For us, it's the Twins, and I know we'll get to the non-con first, but yeah, the division is tough. We gotta grab, scrape, crawl, and try to get out of there with some W's,
Mm-hmm.
or we're going to be looking uphill again. And 24 could be just as tough as 23 and 22 was.
Yeah. 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 You brought up the schedule, and that was my next question. So yeah, you have that early game against the Twins, and they're a pretty consistent top tier team. They've had a little bit of a struggle, and I don't think that's so much because of them not being talented. I think it is more back to some of those middle teams being more and more competitive,
Yeah.
just making it more challenging. But yeah, you start off with the Twins, but when you look at the schedule overall, I think it's pretty balanced. Like when I was looking at everybody's schedules, I was like, "Hey, this is pretty good. This is pretty balanced." You don't have a huge run of extremely tough teams like some teams have where they're hitting, you know, top one, two, three, four teams in a row. And then, their easy games on paper, right? Are later.
Yeah.
You don't have crazy big breaks in the sense. I mean, you have some breaks, but you don't have huge breaks. And then yeah, you finish out the season on Monday against the Expos, in what Sam calls the toilet bowl, but it's really just the game for the two teams who finished ninth and eighth last year. Um, so
That
yeah, I mean,
hurts.
looking at, I've been there, man. It's not fun. Um, looking at the schedule, was there a game? Is there a game that you guys have circled?
Yeah, it's got to be the Twins game.
Okay.
We beat them last year, fair and square. That was one of our wins, which at that point we were like, okay, let's see if we can't backdoor our way to 4 wins. We knew that wasn't going to be a playoff spot with 4 wins, but at least got us on you want to be on the left side of the column. Um, so for us, that Twins game, we have to do. I mean, last year we got demolished. You got the Cy Whiffle of the year right on the
Hmm.
mound, and we just got basically bamboozled from the beginning. And
So
I
hold
love
on, hold
that.
on,
Now
Evan. Sorry.
you're good. You're
Say hi,
good.
Brewer. Just
Hi,
what's up?
Brewer.
What's up? I'm doing this right now. Yeah, it's a cool
Oh, is that
dinosaur.
dinosaur?
Yeah. All right, go back upstairs with Yaya. Shut the
I
door.
love the green stegosaurus. We may need to put that on the bench
Yeah,
this year to get us
that's
going.
that's fine. I got plenty of them. You can have one. All right. Sorry about
um,
that, everyone.
You're good, man. Family's a part of this, which is great. I got a young daughter. She'll be over 1.5 now this year. She couldn't even crawl well, barely crawl. So she'll be running around. I'm excited to bring her to the field. And
That's awesome.
yeah, the kids are all about it. It's a fun weekend. But yeah, just getting back to the original question with the schedule, the Twins. I mean, we that first pre-weekend game. It's the Sunday before, middle of the day. It would be great to see if we can't get off on the right foot because I
Hmm.
think for us, with only 9 games left after that, you go 0-1 to start. You got to win more than you lose from that point on. So
Hmm.
for us, I mean, when you talk about the Twins, then the Rockies, then the Marlins, you got to find wins in those first 3 games, specifically the first 2 games, to make us competitive, right? To give us a chance to look at the playoffs and be like, hey, we can do that this year. So that way, when I see Skibby, you drop the toilet bowl. Hopefully, I can go to him and be like, yeah, the toilet bowl actually meant something to the A's, or maybe even it means something to the Expos this year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So get to those later games on Sunday and Monday to where they mean something, where we're not just trying to play spoiler and play around with the playoffs and the brackets and all that, which we've done before. And yeah, May 19th is going to be here sooner than later, right? We're about a month away from that first pitch for us on the A's, and we're definitely excited. It's a huge game for us to get off on the right foot
Yeah.
against a really good team. But
Yeah.
there's yeah, go ahead.
No, you're good. Yeah. No, I agree. I think, man, what a boost to your season when you can come into the weekend with that win under your belt, right? Coming in, you play that a week early, or some cases 2 weeks early, 3 weeks early. I don't know the exact dates of those games,
Yeah,
but you come into the weekend with the win under your belt. You're already ahead of everybody else in the league, right? For the most part, and
yeah,
but on the other hand, when you lose it, it's like you have to think about it for a whole week, right? And so
yeah.
that the more we've done that, I think the more that can play a role in like you said,
It's
the
a
way your
huge.
season goes,
It's huge.
and yeah, and then you again, you start off on opening day right? You get the Rockies, your a division team, so there's more weight to even that game too. Like if you can take the game against the Twins and then come in on that high and then beat the Rockies or play close and maybe, whatever the case is, like that can really set a tone for the rest of the weekend. If you take that game, now, you know, they're looking up at you and you're, like you said, now you've got some momentum going and you're just trying to stack wins because, eventually you're going to hit a skid where maybe you lose a game and you don't want that to become a thing. So, yeah, I think it's a great approach. I think I really like your schedule. If I was an AA, I would be really happy with this, the way it's kind of broke out. And like you said, that toilet bowl game. We've talked a lot about the hot team going into the playoffs, and that's what the A's were when they made it to the championship that year.
Yeah.
They didn't come in with all this firepower and on paper they're like this great team. Like they just kept rattling off wins and rattling and they built a lot of momentum going into the playoffs and they rode that momentum all the way to the championship. And that's what a lot of teams have done. They and so yeah, that final game could be really, really important. Who knows if it's for a wild card spot? Who knows if it's just, hey, let's continue to stack and continue getting some momentum going into playing this afternoon, hopefully. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah.
The one thing on the schedule, not super thrilled. They threw us on a 7:15 Saturday night game, and at 7:37, City kicks off. So
Oh,
I'm gonna have to make a hard decision, and I got to talk to some people to see what we're gonna do. But other than that, I mean, we've got everyone looking at this schedule, or I shouldn't say everyone, the guys on the team that are going to be playing that weekend, looking at this schedule, I think they know how important it is to get off to the quote unquote hot start, like we said, and give us a leg up moving into that first weekend. Then we can kind of, if we have a bad game, it's okay. But when you start to compile some losses early, you can't have bad games, especially against teams that historically have been better. They may, you know, we're looking at teams where guys are playing wiffle ball 365 days a year. And, we watched them play and we saw them on the live streams and we
hmm
know what we're up against. And I kind of like we're a ragtag bunch. Some of us are newer, some of us have a lot less experience, but why not us, right? There's been stories and historic
hmm
runs that have happened even in our own organization here with the A's. So we'll see what we can do, but the schedule definitely is pretty. Like you said, I think there's a lot of great competition anywhere, and I think anyone can beat anyone on any given game. It just depends on how many times we can do that, and then we got to win the close games, which we have not done the last 3-4 years. That's the for sure thing. Whether we've been the home team or away team, it hasn't mattered. We've kind of folded late. Some of that's been me on the mound. Last year was awful on the mound for me, but at least I was able to hit with some power when I had the opportunities to get ABs. And I think we're all pretty excited to see what we can do with a full season, just us four, and see if we can't get after it and start hot.
Yeah. Yeah. The four horsemen coming at you. I think that'll
I
have to be
love
your
that.
nickname. Yeah.
And they're not going to relocate us like the Oakland A's. I think we're going to
Absolutely.
stay, but hopefully that staying power gives us an opportunity to get in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about power rankings. And more so just the team. I think,
Yeah,
as of the time we're releasing this, I do think that the power rankings for fielding, hitting, and pitching came out today,
they
but
did.
we're gonna ignore that. But I guess it gives a little bit of info. Where do you think the A's will be ranked, just overall as a team? 1 through 9, and where do you feel you should be ranked?
Yeah, so I think it's pretty clear based on performance that the league, the voters, or however that's decided, we're probably going to be put at 8, 9, maybe a 7, based on the rest of the league's voting or however the power rankings work. Without seeing the power rankings that did come out today, that's bulletin board material right there. But
Mm-hmm.
putting that aside, and we probably deserve it after our showing last year. I understand that fully. So let's say we're the 8, right? The league puts us as an 8. In my mind, I think we can fill in the spot anywhere from 4 to 9. But if we play well and we can pitch it better than we did last year, and then the big thing is defense covering up Paul's hole. Uh, that's a big deal with him being platinum hands like he started out with.
Hmm.
So we're gonna have to find defensive outs. Luckily Steve's gonna be out there roaming around, and we're gonna have to put Keaton, Vorbeck, myself. But yeah, I would love to see us in that 5-6 and make a run at the playoffs. Like the actual of what happens based on how the 10 games in the regular season go. So hopefully we can get some respect put back on our name. I think that's the big thing is them not just looking at us. It kind of sucks rolling up to a game and they're like, oh, there's the lowly A's. Let's,
Hmm.
they're back, Quo's back, all the new ragtag group of characters, and hopefully we can surprise some folks this year. And I think for us, that's the goal is to just cement ourselves with some early wins and get in people's minds to where, sometimes when you roll up and you're like, shit, man, the Orioles are 5-0 and we have to play them last year, or the Yankees are 6-1, whatever the records are, the Astros are this, the Marlins are this. You name the team, we were looking up at everyone, and you're not scared. It's wiffle ball, it's fun, right? No
Hmm.
one dies at the end
Right.
of the day. This isn't for scholarships. This isn't
Yeah.
for money. It's pride, which honestly, at the end of the day, it's kind of like fantasy football, right? You don't want to finish last because then
Yeah.
we have to sit with it for a full year. I don't want to sit here and think about what it could have, should have, especially, when I'm invited in this, and this is such a cool and unique opportunity for us. So we gotta go guns blazing in and be fearful of no one, and hopefully hit a shit ton of bomb. Oh,
It's
language.
okay.
That
It's
was
all
the
right.
first drop, and I was
You,
36 minutes
yeah,
in
you're doing
ish.
great. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's look at, we're going to do some predictions now. Okay. We're going to
Yeah.
start with, I want you to pick a division winner for the other two divisions. Okay. So in the
Okay.
corner pub and grill division, you've got the Twins, the Astros, and the White Sox.
Yep. It's a great division, and I figured this was coming, so I've got my little cheat sheet next to me. The
Okay.
division winner for the corner pub, in my mind, I think it's going to be the Astros.
Let's go.
I I think the Astros were a little bit on. You can say this, maybe not the necessarily the best year
Hmm.
that you've had in franchise history, but I think the Astros come away with it. That's a hyper competitive division, and honestly, I think all three of them can be. I think there's maybe a little more distance in some others that might be quote unquote the most competitive from top to bottom.
Hmm.
But I think the Astros, if they pitch it well, I think they got a great chance.
Sweet. I love that. You're my new,
That wasn't
you're,
just for, that
you're,
that wasn't
you're my
just
new,
for you.
well, I appreciate it anyway. You're my new favorite A. So sorry, Keaton. I love you too. All right. Ketty Nice Center, Yankees, Marlins, Expos.
Yeah, the Yankees.
Yeah, it's hard to pick against them. Brewer, go back upstairs.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, you
it's hard
can.
to go. It's hard to go against their level of play recently. No offense to the Marlins and Expos. Hopefully our bad luck string against the Marlins. And I know there's been some defectors or whatever that word is from the A's that have gone and made some dents with the Marlins. And
Hmm.
I know it's brought up to me that that is a big game when we play the Marlins. So
Yeah.
I can't go with them, right? I think I would
No.
not be allowed to be on the team at some point.
You'd you'd be sitting on the bench and everybody be on one side and they'd make you sit over with the cone of
Yeah.
shame.
And with four guys, that's tough to be on the bench. So hopefully
Yeah.
it doesn't come to
They're
that.
like, screw it. We'll just take the extra out every time.
You got
We're
to be doing
punting.
something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And then pick your two wild card teams.
Yeah. So I think one of the wild card teams is us.
Great.
Um, the other wild card team, I'm gonna go with. I feel like I got to go with the Twins, and Callaway and the Sox are gonna hate that.
Hmm.
Um, I know they've had some lineup or some management lineup roster moves as well with some
Yeah.
key movements. But yeah, I think Athletics and Twins are wild card teams.
Sweet. I like that answer. Changing it up a lot. I like that. I get tired of the same teams making it. I mean, I want to make it all the time. Don't get me wrong, but it gets boring to just be like, oh, it's the same five, or we can just interchange one team here and there. I'd
I hope
rather it
that
be big shakeup. Love it.
I hope that's us. I hope we're part of the shakeup this year, and I think we have to have that mentality going in. Once again, this is all fun, but we're all competitors at the end of the
Yeah.
day. We want to win. It sucks when you lose, no matter if you're playing golden tee at a bar or if you're with if you're playing skibby wiffle ball, season
Mm-hmm.
22. We want to be a part of it. We want to be a part of some magic and a playoff run, and we'll see what happens.
Yep. I love it. All right. Well, that takes us to hard hitters, rapid fire edition. So, we're just going to rattle some questions off, and Evan's going to give us your answer off the top of your head. You can give a little explanation if you want, but I just want you to kind of spit out your answers. Okay. So, what is the final record for the A's in season 22?
6-4, no playoffs. Well, 6-4, not counting the playoffs.
Okay. Who is the team MVP for season 22?
Keaton Adams.
What's your favorite show?
Ted Lasso or The Office. That's close.
Oh, those are both so good, though. Big
Maybe
fan of
Peaky
both.
Blinders, but that's three. I'm
Oh,
giving way.
that's no,
I
dude. We got to just hang out more.
That's a
You're
lot of
speaking my lang-
shows.
You're speaking my language. All right. Who will lead the league in home runs in season 22?
Not in the whole league, right?
Whole league. Yep. I want you to pick a player.
Sam.
Okay. Who is your least favorite team to play against?
The Marlins. I can't get game one out of my head from the first year I played.
Mm-hmm. Uh, favorite tradition of your team?
Since I have a storied tradition on the A's in 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
I would say us bringing a fifth of tequila and taking shots when we have some good times.
Sweet. All right. Who will lead the league in strikeouts as a pitcher?
I don't. I mean, can I? I'm just gonna say two guys real quick: Chad Young or Sam Skibby.
Okay, cool. That would change. It's been Jimmy for the past like 3 years.
Has it really?
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
Jimmy.
all good. I mean, Chad was awesome last year.
Chad was
So
fantastic.
and Sam I think finished second in Cy Wiffle rank voting last year, so it would make sense too.
I'm a
All
Chad
right, who's
fan,
gonna
but I need to
go
hit
ahead?
him this year.
Yeah, yeah, everybody does. Who will lead the league in strikeouts as a hitter?
Oh man. Uh, John Calloway. Just because I love him, he's on my Bombers. He's on my Bombers alumni golf team, and I just want
Yeah,
to fuel his fire. And just, I mean, he's a very so-so hitter. So
yeah, yeah. Just kind of middle of the pack, kind of.
yeah, he's a
Yeah,
strikeout or home run guy, and he knows that.
yeah. Which sucks for him because he's a lefty and he just hits it into the trees anyway.
Yeah,
So,
or
all right.
misses, swings and
Yeah.
misses this year
So,
because he's going to
yeah.
strike out a
Yeah.
bunch.
Yeah. All right. All right. Who wins the championship this year?
Yankees.
Uh, okay. All right. We're gonna play a game. You got to pick, I guess from your roster, and let's just go with the four horsemen. Okay, since that's
Hit,
what we've been talking about all day. You have to start one player, you have to bench one player, and you have to trade one player.
uh, start Keaton Adams, bench Steve Hayes, and then we can trade me.
Okay. All right. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of the SWBL podcast. I want to thank Evan for coming on. It's been a lot of fun talking with him and having him on for the first time. I'm gonna have to get him on more, guys, because he's just great. So thank you for coming on, buddy. Real quick, I want to thank our sponsors: 1356 Public House, Cardinal Blinds and Shutters, Ketty Nice Center, Corner Pub and Grill, Spencer Gear, Breck X, Chill Designs, Everdolce Vita, Four Hands Brewery, Logix, and Johnny Pops. We've got some more captain team interviews coming out. We'll have the power rankings once those are finalized, and we'll have a season preview. But we are getting real close, guys, to Memorial Day weekend, and even some of these early games. They're right around the corner, less than a month away. So stay tuned for more content. And until then, we'll see you at the Blur. Evan, get us out of here, buddy.
I appreciate the opportunity. Super excited for the third season. For me, the A's are going to shock the world. We're excited to get after it. Look for us on Monday in the playoffs. And we're going to surprise some folks this year with a little bit more consistency. And I'm excited to see everyone at the Blur. Appreciate the opportunity and love being a part of this. So I appreciate it.
You got it, man. Thanks for coming on again. Had a great time talking with you. So, all right, everybody, we'll see you soon. Peace.